ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930 present The Drive. Winner of the 2024 West Virginia Broadcasters Association Excellence in Broadcasting Award for Best Talk Show.
It is Tuesday, July 9th. Welcome in to The Drive here on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. I'm your host, Paul Swann. Our text line is going to open up for you this hour at 304-396-TALK. That's 304-396-8255. Joining us on the program today, we'll be speaking with Marshall tennis coach John Mercer. That's coming up about 5:15. John recently making a hire. It's an interesting hire. Former Kentucky standout and ITA All-American JJ Mercer will be joining his father on the Marshall tennis staff. That's going to be an interesting conversation to have with John. Of course, I can't wait to hear some of the stories that those two will be able to tell. As a father and son being on the same coaching staff, coaching tennis. I mean, JJ basically grew up with John coaching, so I'm sure that this is just a logical step for him. He definitely had a tremendous career at Kentucky, and he's going to be with us coming up here in the next few minutes. John is to talk about JJ. But until then, we'll get your text in. 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. That's going to be our number to be a part of today's show. Let's get you updated on baseball. Of course, we start off with the Tri-State Coldcats. They're opening up a week-long road trip that starts tonight at 7 o'clock at Johnson City. They'll do that for the next 2 days, and then Thursday and Friday, they will be at the Elizabethton River Riders. And then Saturday and Sunday, they'll be facing off at Pulaski, those dreaded River Turtles. And then they'll be back home next Tuesday and Wednesday, July 16th and 17th, versus the Elizabethton River Riders. So lots of baseball still to come, but running out of home games for the Coldcats. Right now, it looks like this. The Coldcats are dead last in the East. They have a 10-19 record. In the West, tonight's opponent, the Johnson City Doughboys, they are third with 13-14 as their win-loss record. So lots of games still to be played, but running out of time. You want to get into the playoffs, and I know I keep talking about that. Top two teams in each division will make the playoffs. Right now, the Coldcats, they got a lot of ground to try to make up. If they can get at least one or two of these series, they might have a shot at least moving up a little bit. Of course, they take on the River Turtles, and that's the team that's a few games ahead of them right now. So if they could start winning a couple series, they could take that series against Pulaski. They can move up a little bit. Of course, Burlington is right there. Bluefield's going to be the team I think they're going to have to catch. Danville's really good right now. But if you could catch Bluefield, you don't know what could happen. But all those games, don't forget, will be over on the Coldcats website. They video stream every single game, and we've got the home games. We have that right here on the radio. Just as a reminder, you can listen to Jason Toy, Woody Woodrum call those games right here on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. Baseball action yesterday. The Pittsburgh Pirates got the win over the Mets 8-2. The Bucks are going to be playing in Milwaukee tonight. We've got a 7:45 airtime with an 8:10 first pitch coming up tonight right here on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. The Reds get the victory over the Rockies 6-0. Game 2 coming up tonight 7:10 at Great American Ballpark. And the Tigers beat the Guardians 1-0. Game 2 is set for 6:40 tonight in Detroit. And in the Atlantic League, the Charleston Dirty Birds open up a home series with Gastonia. That's coming up tonight, 6:35 at Go Mart Ballpark. So we'll get the text line open for you in the next few minutes. I want to talk to John Mercer, head coach of the tennis team. It's an interesting conversation to have, especially about being able to hire your son to be a coach with you. And JJ had a really good career. He was part of a highly ranked doubles team, earned another visit to the NCAA doubles tournament. So he's got NCAA experience. He has experience at high-level programs. He was at Kentucky. He has credibility. And I talked to John earlier about some of the things he's already doing. I don't know if we're going to be able to get into it with you just yet, but if we can, it's fascinating the way that this tennis program with JJ already there. I'll give them credit. They're making an effort to make sure that tennis gets everything it possibly can get as much as possible. It hasn't been left behind. So we'll talk to Coach Mercer about what's happening. And then there's some changes that were going to take place in the Sun Belt. And I think that they rolled those back a little bit. I'll have John get into that with you a little bit more. I talked to him earlier today. So there's some things I want to get into with you on that. And then we're going to hear from you. Again, the text line is 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. So when we come back from break, we'll hear from the head coach of the Marshall tennis team, John Mercer, hiring his son, JJ Mercer, to the coaching staff. We'll talk about that when we continue on today's edition of The Drive on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930.
This is The Drive with Paul Swann on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930.
Welcome back to our Tuesday edition of The Drive here on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. I want to welcome to the program now the head coach of the Marshall tennis team, John Mercer. Marshall hiring the son of John, JJ Mercer, to the coaching staff. John's with us now on the program to talk about that. What's that like, hiring your son? What's that feel like as a father, not as an employer, just as a father, to be able to hire your son?
Well, in theory, he's kind of always worked for us. So it's part of the job of being the son. So he's always been really helpful, with his brother and his sisters and, other people in the community as far as, helping them with their tennis. So it was kind of a natural as far as that goes. But it's exciting. It's really exciting to have him, be officially part of the Marshall staff. And, he's ready to hit the ground running, which he's already done.
You highlighted he's always been around. What were some of the things that he was doing when he was just around, and now what does that translate to as being the assistant?
Well, probably since the day he was born. He's been on every conversation that myself, Laurie, who was the head coach here for 9 years, and myself, growing up that entire time. I was in, grade school and junior high and high school, just constantly hearing conversations about the players. The coaching profession doesn't stop when you leave the office. It continues, and it goes on at dinner conversations and evening conversations, and you're always trying to think about how you're trying to plan, whether it's planning lineups or planning strategy or planning player development, whatever it is. You're always working on stuff with your student athletes. So it's really a 7-day-a-week nonstop job, and he's heard that from the beginning. He's heard all that, so it was a natural for him when he went off to school to play, that he had already experienced a lot of that. He'd been around a lot. He'd hit with a lot, of the players on the team. He would, hit with them, help them. Obviously, he hit a really good ball when he was in high school because he was one of the top junior players in the country. So the girls would practice with him at times, and yeah, I mean, he just has a great understanding of college tennis, and put it this way, he's not your normal first-time hire right out of college. He's been in the battles, and he's been around it, and he's heard all the angles, so and all the stories and everything else. So it's just kind of a natural for him to fit in and really come in with somebody who really has a lot of experience, which is great.
My guest is John Mercer, Marshall's tennis coach, JJ Mercer's son, being added to the coaching staff. You mentioned he hit the ground running. What has he already been able to do for you in the program and for the team?
Well, for example, as soon as he was hired later that week, he actually went to a camp in England, in London, right outside of Wimbledon. They had a J5, which is an international tournament. They had a showcase camp with a lot of the top players in that area of the world. Came in, and so he did some scouting there. He was there for a day and a half, and then literally flew to Frankfurt to recruit a girl that we've been recruiting for a while, myself, and talked to her and her coach. She's from Ukraine. She's displaced out of Ukraine. Ended up in Germany, playing there now, basing herself out of there, and was looking to come to the States. And so he was there for a day, talked to them, and then literally got on a plane and flew home. So it's a worldwide game, and you got to be willing to travel worldwide, if you want to compete at the level that we're trying to compete.
And that's something that you would do if you were able to. Now you have someone who basically is an extension of yourself, not only as an assistant coach, but he's your son. You have the utmost confidence in him to be able to go and do these things that you used to do and probably still do.
Yeah, I mean, I think exactly, and I think he's prepared to do that. Which obviously we actually signed this young lady day before yesterday, which was really exciting. So she came here, kind of came down to us and 3 other Power 4 schools. And, with his experience, he had like 30 points playing doubles on the tour, won a 25K up in Canada last summer. So he has, tour experience that he gained during his collegiate playing days. He'd spend the summer, playing a lot of tournaments, and so he can go in and he can talk that game. A lot of these kids, like this young lady, she wants to play professionally when she's done, and that's what's happening to college tennis. It's becoming, or has become. If anybody was watching Wimbledon, there was a huge number, 30-some players that were college players playing at Wimbledon this year, main draw Wimbledon. And so you need to be able to go in, and you need to be able to show you have experience. You have experience playing at that level, coaching at that level. If you want to recruit these players to be competitive at the highest level. So, that's what he brings, and it's perfect. It's a great fit.
John Mercer's with us, the hiring of his son, JJ Mercer, as an assistant coach. Now, just to clarify, there hasn't been an official release yet on the signing. Of course, that stuff has to go through proper channels before we can mention it properly. But as soon as that's available, we'll talk about that. But again, a new addition, and it's because JJ was able to get on the plane. I'm sure you have to take in a little bit of Wimbledon as well, and then make sure that everything was all good for the recruit.
Yeah, I mean, it's great. He can go over there, and we have a lot of ties over there. One of our former players is director of operations at Wimbledon now. He's actually the number 1 pickleball player in England. Thaddeus Locke, for anybody who followed us, a decade or so ago. She's gotten big into the pickleball, and she's the Wimbledon is kind of a countrywide tournament. For everybody there, it's kind of all hands on. If you've ever experienced it, they really put on a great show and a great event, and so he got to go over there and see that, and of course he already knows a lot of the coaches and knows a lot of players that are already playing there. So it was kind of neat for him to go over there and be around that.
My guest is John Mercer. We're talking about the hiring of his son, JJ Mercer, to the coaching staff, and he highlighted some of his accomplishments. He has experience. He has played at a high level. He was at Ohio State, then he transferred to Kentucky, had a lot of success, even reached number 1 doubles for the 23-24 season, highly ranked in the ITA rankings, been to the NCAA tournament. He has that experience. All SEC first team as well. So he's got that credibility that I'm sure the players are looking for when it comes to coaches and assistant coaches being able to make them better. Because as you alluded to, these players are wanting to go pro now more than ever. In tennis, it's really exploded. And it's to the point now, what can you do? How can you make me better? How can you get me to the next level? And he's got not only the experience competing in these matchups in these tournaments, but also he's got the accolades to back it up. Yeah, exactly. And that's what we want. I mean, it's becoming much more like the NBA, where you have players, like for instance, an example would be becoming a pathway to the higher professional level. So for instance, this year at Wimbledon, the second round of Wimbledon, the player that Djokovic beat in 4 sets. JJ was actually playing against him at NCAAs a month and a half ago. They were in the quarterfinals of the NCAAs. This fellow plays for TCU, and he literally was
playing him, and we're watching the match, and we're going, wow, this is kind of cool. So you're seeing that transition now. The college system is being set up so that the players can transition fairly quickly into the higher pro ranks, because that's where college tennis is heading. And especially with the NIL out there, that's available. You're getting a lot more players who are willing to come play college tennis and kind of work, their professional careers in conjunction with their college tennis career. So it's ever evolving, just like all the other sports. It's ever evolving, and it's a challenge to stay on top of it. And that's what we're trying to do here. And JJ feels like, based on his experience, and of course I feel the same way, that it's a real advantage for us.
Why did JJ want to transition into coaching? Did he think about a professional career, or is that still on the table?
That's something that I don't know. You'd have to talk to him about it. I didn't even ask him about it. He just called me one day. He was like, "Hey, what do you think about me being the assistant?" And I was like, "What?" Because he actually at Kentucky, he's actually finished his MBA. So he's able to do his fifth year. He finishing up graduate school. So he's able to do that, and I was like, hey, that'd be great. That'd be awesome. So something he wanted to do. I think he wanted to be back in Huntington. He loves Huntington. He loves Marshall. He grew up with all the experiences that we've had over the last 30 years. For us, for our family at least. But he grew up with all the experiences, and this is his home, and this is his school, and maybe if we had a men's team, maybe we would have been playing here instead of Kentucky. But he loves being in this region, and he loves teaching and coaching, and we'll see how it works. So we just we're right now we're just trying to put together a good team, that can really compete, and hopefully build off last year's second place finish, and see if we can get over that hurdle and win that regular season title. So. That's what we're trying to put together.
How do you make the next step? You finished second regular season. There wasn't much more you could have done, but the margins are narrow. How do you get over the hump and get to that next level with what you have, which was really good coming back?
Right, yeah. Well, that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to add a couple really good players. And the girl that we just signed, she's a real good player. And so hopefully we can add another one. So we're just trying to add more depth, just more, variety amongst the lineup, so maybe you can match up a little bit more with players, styles, and so on. But, really based on, a lot of it comes down to experience, kids' experience, and, how much have they traveled, how many tournaments have they played, have they played professional tournaments at a lower level. That's kind of what we're looking for, and then they're looking to, use college tennis not only to get an education, but to continue to develop their game and kind of move up in the pro ranks. And so, that's what we're looking for, those types of players. And, and then on the other hand, we're also looking for kids, in our own area that have talent, that want to continue to develop. So, you're always looking for kids, that's a bonus right there. You get kids in your own area that, work super hard and are really good, and it can happen anywhere. So we've had a lot of players come out of this area that have played college tennis, and we've had a few on our team. So Madison Riley, one of them, came over from Portsmouth. Did great for a year and a half. She transferred in, had gotten some more experience, and just kept getting better while she was in college. So, you're kind of just looking anywhere you can, to try to get to the players who can really, compete at the highest level, the highest college level, and that's what we're trying to do.
And how challenging is it going to be this point forward, knowing that we still haven't solidified what name, image, and likeness is going to look like at the Sun Belt level, the national level, the tennis as a whole level, and I'm sure that's got to be maddening to know that how you recruited in the past still could be valid, but maybe you have to change it up a little bit to adapt to this new reality.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's what you got to take on. I mean, it's a challenge. It's a different ballgame. And really what, we're trying to do is we're trying to use it to our advantage. So, and I certainly think we can. So, hopefully it pans out for us. But we're trying to do what we can, to help the kids out and recruit them. And the target's kind of always moving. You just never know. I know, like at the highest level, they're getting some serious NIL money that of course we can't match. But that target keeps moving, but it's okay. It just kind of gives you a feel, and then you try to do the best you can, with what you have, and hopefully you can find some players who are also interested in how can you develop them, and how can you make them better, and and take advantage of the college system to like I said, not only get their education but to develop their tennis game. Hopefully get to the pro level. But yeah, it's a little bit of a tough one, but I don't really look at it as a problem. It's kind of just like over the 30 years we've been here, there's always something, that changes. I mean, nothing ever stays the same with the NCAA, as we all know. So there's always rules that change and so on. And so you just try to adapt and figure out, okay, how do I, kind of, when it comes to recruiting and so on, how do I, come up with a plan that works to keep us competitive and one step ahead of, your competition. So that's what we're trying to do.
My guest is John Mercer, Marshall University, announcing the hiring of John's son, JJ Mercer, part of the tennis staff. And you mentioned earlier that if Marshall might have had a men's team, JJ could have possibly played for the Thundering Herd. Now, that's the past.
Right.
But those conversations, I'm sure, have had to come up, if not most recently, in the past, and maybe even recently. Are those conversations that are being had right now? We have seen the athletic department expand offerings at Marshall, and could men's tennis be in the future? Is that something that's being talked about, even maybe just in a let's think about that type of mentality right now?
Mm-hmm. Honestly, I haven't heard anything.
Okay.
So it would be nice. It'd be really nice. I mean, Marshall's a great situation for tennis. I mean, it's a great setup. Everything just from the logistics of the campus to, the area that you're located, and the fact that you're kind of in the middle of Big Ten, ACC, SEC country. It's really easy to get to a lot of schools. But, it'd be fantastic, if we, started looking into that, and going down more of that path. And maybe that would be something that if we, kept looking at, facilities and so on, maybe that's something we could do. But, right now there's so many things in flux. I know, with all the football and basketball and all that, the House decisions coming down, I think that they're just kind of planning on trying to figure out what we can do with what we have right now. So that's kind of the trick, I think. So we'll get through this, I'm sure in the next couple of years we'll start to kind of, you'll see more of a pattern. You're already starting to see it, more of a plan of how things are being put together by schools and the NCAA. And, once that kind of gets in place, then, you can maybe start thinking of things like that.
John Mercer is my guest, head coach of the Marshall tennis team. The hiring of his son JJ to the assistant's position, and I don't want to put any pressure on you, but is this a situation where are we grooming your son to eventually take over? Is he going to be the head coach of the program here in the future? Would you like to see that? What do you want to see for your son?
We're trying to get to the fall. We're trying to put together a good team for this year. So, yeah. What do I see for him? Yeah, I mean, we just kind of have to see how this year goes and how it plays out. Hopefully we can build a great program, and, if he wants to stay involved and Marshall's willing to keep him involved, that would be fantastic. I would love that. That would be the best. But, yeah, I mean, what happens, like I'm sure, a lot of people, I mean, you're just kind of going day to day. I mean, in our lives, we're just kind of living day to day and trying to, fly to Europe and trying to get somebody signed and bring them back and, on to the next one, and trying to plan practice schedules and, trying to figure out the logistics of it all and planning our team schedule. So, you're just trying to put everything together and at the end, we'll see how it all plays out. And, see if we can keep building our program here and make it into what it should be, and that is a definite power in the Sun Belt.
Finishing number 2 in the regular season, that's a good start to getting this team back to where you want it to be. John Mercer, my guest. Anything happening with you before I let you go? Anything we need to touch on?
Oh, boy. Well, for all you that followed Wimbledon, like I said, it was great. It was a great showing by the college kids. I think there were 32 players in the main draw, which was outstanding. There was a girl that just lost today who played at UVA, who we played against a couple years back, Emma Navarro. So, like a lot of times in the past, a lot of these kids, a lot of these young people that are showing up on TV and playing, we've competed. They know Marshall. So you ask them who we are, they know who we are, so, which is kind of cool. But, that's what's going on, and, looking forward to the U.S. Open and having it on our home soil. And, we'll do a little recruiting there. They'll have a junior U.S. Open and go from there.
How do you keep track of all these former players you played against? You went up against, not let alone the team you have currently and used to play for you. Now you're keeping track of all these people you've went up against. How do you do that?
Yeah, there's a bunch of them. There was a Robin Anderson who was like in the doubles, who did really well. She played at UCLA. We played against her when we went out and played National Indoors one year out there in LA. Played against her. So there's a few. There's a few in there that are in the main draws now who, have done really well and moved on. And it's fun to see. It's fun to see them do well and, progress in their own games. And, that's what we're here doing too. We're trying to, do the same thing. Michaela played a lot of pro tournaments when she graduated from here. Michaela Kissel, now Michaela Edens. She played a bunch of pro tournaments, and of course Kelly had a real successful career, and Jessica and Ashley played a bunch of doubles tournaments, back in the day. So, that's what we're trying to do. And really, the kids that we have on the team now, for people to come watch, they play a fair number of pro tournaments over the summer. They're not just sitting at home; they're traveling and they're playing and competing and really working on their game. So. It's fun to get them back, and those are the players you need to recruit these days. So, in order to be successful, so it's good. It's all good.
John Mercer, my guest. Hey, let's get JJ on soon. Can you broker that? Can you arrange that for us?
Sure I can. Yep.
All right.
We'll have to talk to Cody, our main contact, though, right?
Yeah, we have to make sure Mr. Lynn approves that interview. If he does, we'll have it soon. Hey,
Cody's the man.
Yeah, he is. Congratulations! Yeah. I know it's got to be exciting. Not only you get a really good assistant coach, you get to bring your son home. I'm sure that makes everybody happy.
Yeah, makes it really great. Yep, it's good to have him back in Huntington.
John, good talking to you again. We'll do it again soon.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on. Go Herd.
Always. John Mercer, head coach of the Marshall tennis team, and maybe we get a men's team eventually happening at Marshall. I would push for that. I don't know if that would fall on deaf ears right now, because they're trying to do the very best they can with what they have. And then here I come along going, hey, by the way, let's add another team. I don't know if that would fall on sympathetic ears right now, but they're doing a really good job over there at the athletic department. So my hat's off to them. Quick timeout. We will continue on with today's edition of The Drive here on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930.
Let the good times roll. Downtown Huntington's premier weekly music event is back. It's Mount West Ninth Street Live, presented by New Trail, Garage Beer, Big Truck, The Beast, La Marca Prosecco, and Matua Sauvignon Blanc. This Friday at City Heat. Music starts at 7 on the Marshall OBGYN stage. The Little Caesars Kid Zone is back, and Go-Mart Happy Hour starts at 5. Enjoy food and drinks from the Marshall Hall of Fame Cafe, Sip Downtown Brasserie, and Summit Beer Station. Mark your calendar for Friday, August 2nd, when 9th Street is Dead, featuring John Ingram's Dead Center and the music of the Grateful Dead. The Thundering Herd Rally is Friday, August 16th. 9th Street Live is driven by Yes Chevy, Yes Ford every Friday night through Labor Day. 9th Street in Huntington between 3rd and 4th Avenues. Sponsored by Delta Hotels, Marshall OBGYN, Wendy's, Mountain Mindful, City of Huntington, Marshall University, Impact Media, Xfinity, and Kindred Communications.
Builders, renovators, and organizers. Rent-A-Can portable restrooms and roll-off dumpster rentals is who you need. Whether it's a construction site, home cleanup, disaster relief, we've got you covered. Portable restrooms for convenience. Roll-off dumpsters for waste. You fill it up, we'll haul it off. Fast delivery and easy pickup. Rent-A-Can portable restrooms and roll-off dumpster rentals. Rent-A-Can has the facilities you need. No job too big or too small for Rent-A-Can.
Hey, let's talk about your favorite day. You'd probably say Christmas Day or maybe New Year's Day. Well, I'm here to make a pitch for Monday. That's right, I said Monday at Roosters at Pullman Square in Huntington, because on Mondays at Roosters, you can get 79-cent boneless wings. Or maybe Tuesday, when you can get the $3 featured appetizer of the week and 99-cent kids meals. Actually, let's talk about Thursday with a late happy hour featuring $1 wings. Enjoy your favorite day or days with over 40 TVs. Roosters, Pullman Square in Huntington, a fun, casual joint.
Rufus Redbird here, your feathered friend from Cardinal Roofing. Thinking of spicing up your roof without resorting to running around in the buff? Well, fear not. With our flashing services, your roof will shine brighter than a streaker at a football game, without the awkwardness. Trust Rufus to keep your roof stylishly covered. Cardinal Roofing, where every job is a flash of brilliance.
Hi, this is Brad from Cardinal Roofing. Call me today, 304-360-0171.
Thoroughbred Express Car Wash. Sign up today and your first month of any membership plan is just $10. Any single wash or membership includes Howard Vacuums, Rhino Mac Cleaner, Cleaner Spray, Microfiber Towels, Bay Trash Cans, and even Air Purge Gun Tools. Follow us online at thoroughbredexpress.com, Facebook, and Instagram for all updates, news, and promos. Thoroughbred Express Car Wash, where every wash is an adventure and every day is a shining opportunity. Check out our locations at Hal Greer Boulevard, Route 60, Hurricane, Hayes Valley, Cross Lanes, Charleston, South Point, Ashland, and Maysville.
Save big money on automotive products now at Menards. Get superior engine protection with Valvoline Synthetic Blend High Mileage Motor Oil. It's formulated for vehicles with more than 75,000 miles and helps condition and rejuvenate aging engine seals to stop and prevent oil leaks. Save big on Valvoline Motor Oil at Menards. #1 in customer satisfaction among home improvement retailers according to J.D. Power. For more information, visit jdpower.com/awards.
Save big money at Menards.
Okay, what's worse than your air conditioner going down in the middle of the summer? I'll tell you, when your air conditioner's gone down and being told it can't be fixed. Well, stop getting sold and start getting serviced at General Heating and Air Conditioning. We pride ourselves on fixing your heating and cooling equipment, keeping you and your family comfortable while saving you money. It's been our tradition since 1968. Call us today for your air conditioning needs. 606-836-8143.
Skillet. And Seether. Live in Huntington. Live in Marshall Health Network Arena. Friday, September 27th. Skillet and Seether. Together. Get tickets this Friday at 10 a.m. at Ticketmaster.com. This is The Drive with Paul Swann on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930.
Welcome back to our July 9th edition of The Drive on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. Our text line this hour is 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. From the text line, Paul, that would be a great idea if Marshall added men's tennis. I agree with that as well. Again, got to balance it. Of course, you have Title IX issues. You also have how you're going to pay for all this stuff. That's always going to be the big question, especially at a program like Marshall. How are you going to pay for all this stuff? But I think it's something that I would love to see happen. I would love to see it explored, because right now the Sun Belt sponsors baseball, basketball, cross country, football, golf, soccer, tennis, indoor and outdoor track and field. What does Marshall have right now? Marshall has baseball. Marshall has basketball. Marshall also has cross country, football. Marshall has golf, soccer, indoor and outdoor track and field. So only one men's sport that is sponsored in the Sun Belt that Marshall doesn't have, and that's tennis. Now on the women's side, it's pretty much everything except for beach volleyball. And wasn't there conversations that, hey, that's going to be a thing eventually? Could beach volleyball really still be a conversation we're going to have here soon? Again, I always thought that would be a neat sport to have in addition to regular volleyball. But as it stands right now, Marshall's got everything: basketball, cross country, golf, swimming and diving, soccer, softball, all the sports. And so you add one more to the list, you probably would see beach volleyball first, maybe. Depends on which one costs more. But would Marshall be served adding a couple of more sports? Would that generate a little bit more revenue for the program? And again, you got to look at it from the standpoint, okay, can you get enough scholarship money to pay for this? Can you increase enrollment, bring some interest into the program? Would men's tennis be a hit? I know women's tennis is very successful. Would men's tennis be a hit? Does beach volleyball bring anything? And of course, this also helps you if you're competing for the Conference Cup. That's always going to be a big thing. The Conference Cup is going to be a big deal. I think this athletic department wants to finish first in that one day. And I would imagine one way to get to that is to sponsor all the sports. Have all the sports, because right now the teams that are in the Sun Belt that have tennis, there's a few that are not sponsoring it. But Old Dominion, Georgia Southern, Georgia State, Troy, Louisiana, South Alabama, Southern Miss, Coastal Carolina, and James Madison all sponsor men's tennis. Now, when it comes to beach volleyball, Marshall has definitely an opportunity there. There's Georgia State. There's UNCW as an affiliate. There's Coastal Carolina. There is Mercer as an affiliate, Southern Miss, ULM. ULM's in this thing. There are a couple other schools. But you get the idea here. There could be some opportunity in the future for beach volleyball. And I think men's tennis might make, from a facility standpoint, the most sense if you're going to improve facilities at Marshall University for women's tennis, get a little bit more bang for your buck, and increase the opportunities for men's tennis as well. And I think you would be able to attract, hopefully, some really talented local athletes as well as hitting the recruiting trail. I mean, again, you heard John Mercer talk about this team is recruiting definitely all over the place, and JJ had to go to England to make sure that a recruit was secure and ready to go for the Thundering Herd. So I'm interested to see where this goes, if there is a future for that. But, of course, Marshall's also got to get his house in order. You got football. You got to get back to a little bit more of a level of prominence. Basketball, you're going to have to get back to a little bit more of a level of prominence. And I think football is probably priority 1 and priority 2 and maybe priority 3 right now as far as getting back to a level of prominence. Our text line is 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. Texter writes in and says, Paul, I'd rather see Marshall add men's tennis first than beach volleyball. There are a lot more people who play tennis around here than they do volleyball. If you're talking about the beach volleyball variety, maybe you got me there, but I think there's a good argument for additional volleyball, and there's definitely a good argument for men's tennis to be added at Marshall University. Again, you got to come up with the answer. Who's going to pay for this, Paul? Who's going to pay for this? 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. Texter says, Paul, I don't care what we do with all the other sports, just as long as football and basketball start winning championships. And I understand why that would be important to a lot of fans. I appreciate that text. The whole idea that Marshall hasn't been able to win championships in either one of those sports in a while. I mean, basketball did it more recently as far as getting to go to the NCAA tournament. Marshall won a conference championship in Conference USA in basketball, men's basketball. Women's basketball is not even in the conversation right now. That program's fine, I think. The men's basketball program with Cornelius Jackson, they're looking to prove themselves. They're looking to make a statement. They've added new faces to the roster. You have a first-year head coach trying to improve the program. So we give basketball an opportunity to sort of rebuild itself. And then with football, of course, football is always going to be the focal point because that's the sport that's most attended. That's the sport that has the biggest cost. That's the sport that brings in the most money. I mean, what are we talking about in the fall? We're talking about Marshall football. So I get that you would want to focus more resources on football and basketball, but at the same time, I think there's room for everything. But it all comes down to, again, at the end of the day, who's paying for all this? And that's why you see more opportunities being developed, like the Thunder Trust. I know some of you have seen that the Marshall's going to launch a Turd Zone Plus service. No idea what that's going to include just yet, other than Marshall's take on Hard Knocks with its play on Hard Knocks with Herd Knocks. You're going to get some insider information. You're going to get info that you probably wouldn't see anywhere else, only because it is coming from inside the athletic department. And so that's going to be a revenue opportunity there for the Thundering Herd, for the football program, and for some of the other programs as well. But you got to start thinking like that. Okay, how can we generate more revenue? How can we create opportunities for name, image, and likeness? How can we generate more revenue for the athletic department? Because it's not coming in the form of television money. The Sun Belt has a good television package for a league of its size, but at the same time, it's not making crazy, stupid money like the Big Ten and the SEC and what the Big 12's trying to make and what the ACC is trying to make. And then, of course, you have everyone else trying to fight for a piece of that pie. And the biggest slices are going to those power leagues right now. So Marshall's got to be a little bit more creative, coming up with opportunities for revenue generation. How do you do that? And I think tickets, of course, are always going to be important. Tickets are going to be important. I don't want to call it the lifeblood and use that cliche of the athletic department, but tickets are important. You got to pay for everything. How do you do that? Well, you improve the product. Well, how do you improve the product? Well, we're going to have to improve the revenue so we can improve the product. Well, how do you improve the revenue? Well, you improve the product. You see where I'm going. It's sort of a vicious cycle, and that's sort of a simple way to explain it. We are done for the day. I appreciate everyone being a part of the program. Let's thank our guest today, John Mercer, the head coach of the Marshall tennis team. I appreciate him always stepping up and being a part of the show. Congratulations to him and his son, JJ being announced as a new assistant coach for the Marshall tennis team. So you get that father-son dynamic going with Marshall tennis. Our producer today, Ben Anderson. For Mr. Anderson, I'm Paul Swann. And don't forget, you missed any part of today's show or you'd like to go back and listen to past episodes, we've got a great interview with Julie Folks a few days ago. She talks about where the Marshall women's basketball program is right now. If you didn't get that, you can go back and find it on our podcast. And we post that every day, available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcast. Or you can just head over to our website, wrbc.com. Thanks for tuning in. I'll be back with you tomorrow here on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930.
Retransmitting on Glorious FM on 94.1 W227BS Huntington. This is 930 WRBC Huntington, celebrating 100 years of broadcasting.